Testing. Today's episode is brought to you by Jesus H. Christ. Because Lord knows it's been a fucking miracle that I could get back into this. We are going to talk about just a few points about Final Fantasy XIV. Yes, I know I'm talking a lot about this game. You should know by now, I'm a big fucking fanboy. Get fuck over it. This is my channel. I talk about... Today, I'm talking about things I kind of really don't like and things I'd like to see differently done in Final Fantasy XIV. Let's get into this. Alright, so first things first, not all mounts should fly. Yeah, we're starting with the fucking hot take here, folks. I'd rather see a variety of uses for mounts. Some mounts we have now just have actions that don't affect the world at large, and I'd rather that not be the case. Like, let's take the Magitech mounts, for example. That could be one of the few mounts that actually fly, be used on ground, and be used for combat. And, you know, in trade-off for that, it's not amphibious. For folks who don't know what that means it doesn't go into water. The Behemoth mount, it just looks silly when it flies. I mean, come on, look at this. I'd be willing to trade out flying for it to have a light mount perk, such as increased movement speed, aka a mount sprint. Take that running animation that it uses for flying and have that be its sprint that works the same way sprint already works now with a similar cooldown. Lately, I've seen players walking around with wings. Sadly, I haven't been able to get any recording of this. Sure would be fucking nice if those wings fucking worked now, didn't it? Draw back to the wings. A drop in combat stats by X amount. These are just a few ideas I have. Next up, gear set bonuses. Yep, still hot takes going on. Tell me, besides the item number, what incentive do you have to equip a full set of gear? Right. I understand that the gear is pretty much got a short lifespan outside of glams, and that when you're up to date, the item number is pretty much all that really matters. But hear me out. For players like me that don't always make it to max item level, I'd like to see some more gear sets have moderate boons they provide to the players. These boons could be pretty much things like, let's say, bonuses to some or just a singular stat, or even a special trait like increased healing from spells. Let's think about the item boost that you get from items in Baja, and you'll basically have the idea. Fishing. Have you guys ever played Red Dead Redemption? Have you ever fished in Red Dead Redemption? The physical mechanics of fishing there is something that I'd love to see implemented into Final Fantasy XIV, because the current mechanics just feel far too dull to me. And before you ask, I grinded my fish at level 80 when level 80 was max. Grinding is something I don't have a huge problem with doing. Hell, I played Destiny and Destiny 2 exclusively for years. I'm not bothered by the grind. But after I got my fisher to level 80, I was finished fishing. Fishing was not satisfying to me in Final Fantasy XIV. I am aware that the guild behind fishing is fairly substantial. I just can't do it. Fishing in Red Dead Redemption feels so much better. If we could have something like that implemented into here, if Final Fantasy XIV could rework the mechanics of fishing to be something similar, to feel more involved, I'm sure I would be far more satisfied with it. All right, next thing on the list. First-person shooting for range classes. I can hear the keyboards typing furiously already. Admittedly, I'm more than certain this is something that will never happen, but it's an idea that's been knocking around in my head for a while now. In Phantasy Star Online 2, they allow players to switch between first-person mode and third-person mode. This is for their ranged weapons. With stats like crit and direct hit, I think Final Fantasy XIV could benefit from this. But even better, I would like to combine the first person shooter idea with the weak point system from Godfall. There's a game I'm pretty sure you didn't think I was going to mention, now did you? If range classes switch to first person mode and they hit a weak point on their target, they would have increased chances of landing crits and direct hits. This would be challenging in higher end content, but good enough players can manage it and will be able to pump up some major damage numbers. Imagine if they actually did this and then the kings of DPS shifted and everybody started becoming more ranged DPS as opposed to melee DPS. I already understand that things like Black Mage are already a king of DPS, but then it would just sit on top of the mound of damage that it does. Oh my goodness, the sandbox will go crazy, and so will the player base. Here goes one for you: the ability to put up the hoods found on some chest armor. This is purely glam related, obviously. With the amount of gear that comes with hoods, why is this not a thing by now? I understand that some races have trouble with headgear, but everyone can wear a hood because we all know we all had to wear that robe with a hood up that you can't take off. We'll probably never see this, but if we ever do, I'm pretty sure we all will lose our shit. And the last one I want to bring up: failure should be an option. This is probably something you might have heard before. This is kind of squirrely for anyone that hasn't played or seen a playthrough of Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker. If you are one of those people, go back and watch my playthrough. It's a, oh my god, it's a hell of a story. For everyone else, picture, if you will, the world has blots of despair that appear on the map. These blots mark locations of high blasphemy activity. Keep in mind that blasphemies are born of high levels of negative emotions. So this is not a problem that just was solved by the end of the story. At these blots, special fates spawn at an increased rate and frequency. At these blots, what the hell, do I not know English? At these blots, special fates spawn at an increased frequency of the amount of time. What the hell? Did I just have a stroke? This is the last time I'm gonna do this. At these blots, special fates spawn at an increased frequency for X amount of time. If the fates are completed in time, it removes the blots and provides special rewards. If not, the block grows and the difficulty increases. This adds a new level of farming, as higher difficulty is, of course, better rewards. Sacrifice now for better pay later. For the group of players that like the open world roaming and just pretty much farm fates, this, like I said, adds a new level of farming for you guys. If you are just out farming on your own, you could probably complete one of these blots on your own and of course get the base rewards. If you happen to have a squad and you notice there's a blot there, you could probably sack on those fucking blots for better reward. Problem is, keeping in mind the lore and whatnot, you are sacrificing civilians so that you can get paid. So it actually adds another layer of morality to it as well. How many are you willing to let die so that you can get a better loot? And those are just a few ideas that I had for some changes that we could probably benefit from seeing in Final Fantasy XIV. But I want to hear what you guys would like to see changed, added, taken away, redone in Final Fantasy XIV in the comment section below. Thank you so very much for watching. I got work to get to and I got a cat to feed. So I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Later.